You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in beautiful Northport, Florida. And while we have taken a hit here in Northport, I will say we are the blessed ones up and down the coast. Our recovery is going very strong, very focused, very organized. I see a lot of people out there with smiles on their faces again. They're getting their lives back together, and Northport Strong is definitely our hashtag, along with all of our surrounding communities. If there's anything to be said, it is Florida Strong, and Florida leadership is shining right now in every aspect of what we're doing. And I've got one of those leaders in our possession right now, in not in studio, but in garage, remotely from her own house, Debbie Mcdowell. Commissioner Debbie McDowell, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic, John. Thanks for having me today.
And I kind of want to start this out with kind of a Debbie viewpoint as a citizen, not as commissioner, but I would like you to kind of give your hurricane overview of what you guys went through, because you're kind of on that island that everybody talks about, where you were kind of blocked in with your location. Can you kind of describe what you went through and your thoughts on that whole thing?
Well, I use the phrase I'm on an island a lot, and to have it actually come to fruition and be actual true statement, we were unable to leave our home for 4 days. Price Boulevard, east and west, was inaccessible. Cranberry Boulevard, north and south, was inaccessible, even with my husband's truck. So we were just kind of stuck here. We had no power. And John, I'll be honest with you, it was 4 days of just an inconvenience. We helped our neighbors, we helped tarp roofs, we helped move debris, we helped pick up shingles. I mean, our neighborhood just kind of all just banded together for those 4 to 5 days and just helped each other because nobody could go anywhere or do anything. And it actually was nice. In a weird, odd way, it was nice. We ate dinner together. I mean, we had people in our garage and we were eating dinner together. We would sit and talk about all different things. And I said to one of my friends, as much as I enjoyed everybody's company, and when the power comes back on, I know that we're all going to go into our own little homes and go back to our own little lives once we're able to get out and meander and see all the sights and get back to work and get back to school. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I see my neighbors, we just got hi, like we did before. So there was a silver lining. We got to know our neighbors a lot better. And it was nice in that regard.
I'm going to put a little statement up here. Alicia, let's not forget the most support and kindness comes from citizens. It happened after Charlie. It's happening now. Churches, neighbors, strangers giving help, food, hugs, debris removal, hauling of trees. The real heroes are unknown. And I will say I agree with her 110%. Very smart overview of what's happening right now. And one, I want to say thanks for listening, Alicia. And two, I want to commend you on repeating, and I'm sure that you're an advocate of this, Debbie, repeating those sentiments across the board. I don't know that I've ever seen a recovery effort. And I have said this over and over again. I watched videos. I have not been to Fort Myers. I've stayed out of the way. I've got dear friends that their house faces off of St. James City, Sanibel. I can't begin to tell you what their house looks like, but I've watched, and the amount of effort, kindness, support that is flowing in to our area from the surrounding areas, from surrounding states, all over the United States. I told this story earlier today that nothing wakes you up more than knowing we were blessed when you see 50 ambulances on 75 speeding past our town to go south. There's perspective on everything. I know people in our area have it rough. I would just like you, as somebody who now has been dealing with constituents and knowing that you've been looking south, you've been hearing what's happening, you've been seeing, you've been part of information that we're not privy to. What are your thoughts on how things are going and how our citizens are adjusting?
I had the same conversation with my parents who live up in Illinois, with friends all across the country. And it kind of gets me because our citizens, yeah, there's so many degrees of how this storm has impacted our citizens. Yes, this whole storm impacted our entire state. It was 500 miles wide. 500 miles wide. The eye of the storm was 50 miles wide. The winds were unrelenting for hours and hours. This was, while it may have taken similar path as Charlie, the storms were completely polar opposite. Charlie was in and out and got done. This one stayed for hours and wore out its welcome. And every home in Northport has had some degree of impact, some minor, some major, some catastrophic. People's lives have been upended and people are scared. People have been turning to their insurance. People have been turning to FEMA. People have been turning to nonprofits. People that you would never even think of would be turning for help and assistance. And it's a daunting task being in government and seeing all the legalese and all the documents and all the reading that has to be done. That is very mind blowing. But add on top of that, going through and knowing that your home is destroyed, your kids aren't in school, you may not have a job, and try and navigate all of that bureaucratic
Bullshit.
stuff.
I can say
on top of everything else. No wonder everybody is so frazzled. No wonder everybody is so scared and just don't know where to turn anymore and don't know what to do next. That's the big thing. What do I do next? My insurance says this, and FEMA says that, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. It's just mind blowing. And that's the part that hurts me because I, as an elected official, are just as helpless to be able to help them navigate all of this stuff. Yes, we have a fantastic place up by Suncoast Technical where they can go and meet with insurance. They can go meet with FEMA. And it is a wonderful, wonderful location to have it all in one spot. I'm not taking away from that. But they still have to go home and take pictures of this and make sure it's not fuzzy and make sure it's labeled correctly and make sure it's got the date when it was purchased and all this other stuff in order to get reimbursed when all they want to do is be able to go back to normal. And it's a daunting task. And yes, our city has done remarkable things in getting normal restored. Yeah, we have a lot of trees out by the curb. But our roads are clear. Our fire department is able to respond to calls. Our police department is able to respond to calls. Our trash is getting picked up. That took a long time to be able to get that resolved because between the landfill and our staff having to be able to take care of what they need to take care of at their homes, there's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of moving parts. And our citizens and outside agencies are doing remarkable given all of the circumstances and all of this stuff. that they have to endure.
And as much as we all want our cities, and I'll say the surrounding cities, to come back and flourish, um, there's one aspect of this that you brought up early in that statement, is that I don't believe that anyone who works for the city of Northport, who is now got our trash being picked up, who's got our water being flown, flowing, and you know all of these things that have to happen within the city, fire workers, police department, um, they're not exempt from the fact that their homes, a lot of them, are upside down right now. They've got family members who are scared. Um, and I'm not trying to take away from anyone that's out there, but I've said this on the show. I've said it before. I said it after. I'm going to stick to this until I'm blue in the face. Is that we have all got to learn that other people have it worse than we do, and that our city is going to bounce back, and we're relentless at it, and that those who are working in the city right now, we have to remember that they have two sides of this. One, they love where they work and they want it to flourish. And two, they love their home and they want their homes back, and they're doing double duty. Not that anybody else is not doing double duty. And I'm not trying to diminish any of that. And I know you're not either. That, you know, I've heard over the last 4 years different comments made, different statements made. There are reasons that we have public works, and there are reasons why we buy different vehicles. Um, I, People thought things before that I think now that they've seen the reserves come in with the big monster trucks. I've seen more people from different areas in our town taking their boats, and I was on one of them to go save people. I can't begin to tell you his name. I don't know where he was from. I didn't get any of that information. I jumped on a boat and went down, and he did it more than I. Uh, and he was relentless. And when I talked to him, I think it was probably the greatest thing he could have said is, I was home, I saw people needed help, and I just wanted to do something. And he got off at Sumter and found the first road, and that's where he stayed. And I was blessed. Joe was blessed. There's multiple families back there that were blessed, because not just him, but a lot of brave people. I didn't even think about it when I did it. And one of my friends said, "You jumped on a prop boat, and how did you know that there weren't trees down?" And I said, "We didn't talk about that. We just went." We have first responders that are doing that every time they go to a fire or shooting or pulling somebody over. We have people that do that every single day. And they do that really with the same blind trust that every person that showed up out of our area kind of went in just to save people. And I watch your face and I see emotion on your face that, I've seen in the past over joy, but this is not the same thing. This is just different. And do you want to add anything into that?
I don't know if you caught my Facebook post thanking our staff. Um, our staff not only had to prepare the city before the storm, they had to ride out the storm at City Hall or wherever they were assigned. Many of our staff sent family away, to safe harbor. Others, their family was at home. We didn't know what the storm was going to be. And then when the storm passed after hours and hours, there was no way to contact their family. There was no way, no way to find out, hey, you guys okay? But they still did their job when it was safe for them to go back to work. Clearing those roads, assessing the buildings, assessing the bridges, doing whatever assessments needed to be done, not knowing how their families were, not knowing how their house was. And they did this for days and days and days. And that to me is the epitome of remarkable and gratitude and appreciation for everything that they do. They had to do this until outside resources, I should say, came in to help. They don't just magically appear and we have excess resources here. They have to get here. They have to navigate the flooding. They have to navigate the downed trees that we were clearing as quickly as we could. They say that you have to prepare your own personal home for 7 days. Well, the city has to prepare for that too, because we don't know what the scope is and the after effect of the storm. And staff is to be commended for all of the things that they have done. And we finally, after the long holiday weekend, the people that came in, the resources that came in to assist us, said, y'all need to go home. You need to take care of your home for these next 3 days. We got your back. Yes, we had some staff that was involved in all of those 3 days, but many of this staff, that was their first time going back home to see what was going on with their homes and their families. Everybody kind of, when I first got elected, I was at the grocery store going down the aisle, getting my whatevers, and a citizen says, oh my gosh, you're doing your own grocery shopping. And I smiled and I said, well, yes, ma'am, I do my own grocery shopping. And she says, I thought you would have somebody do that for you. And I'm like, no, I'm a citizen too. I have a house that I need to take care of. But people have this preconceived idea that your staff, you work for the government. They forget that you also have a life and a house and a family that you have to take care of. Just like when little Johnny sees a school teacher at the grocery store or at church, and it's like, oh, there's my teacher out with her husband. She's married. They don't make that connection, and that's okay. But our staff has done a fantastic job, and I am very grateful for them and all of their efforts. And then in the same breath, I say how grateful I am for everything staff has done. I have to say how grateful I am for the at least 23 agencies from across the state that came in to help us.
It's been crazy.
And it's only, John, it's not even been 3 weeks. And look at how far we have come. And it hasn't even been 3 weeks. Most of the people have power. Most of the people have internet. Yes, I know that's a whole different situation beyond the city's control. But our roads are clear. We're able to get our first responders out. The flooding, thank God, has gone down. Yes, there's damage. Yes, there is inconvenience with having to go around because Price Boulevard bridges failed. But in all intents and purposes, trash is getting picked up. The debris is getting picked up. Things are moving forward. And it's not been 3 weeks. I was here when Charlie happened. It took months before debris got started to be picked up.
I remember.
It took almost months for people to get their power restored. So I consider us very lucky, and I consider us very blessed. And I don't know, it's not just one person that does all this.
No, it
is a group of people, and it's just like in my little neighborhood. All of us neighbors pitching together those first 4 days, keeping each other sane, keeping each other happy, and doing what we could do, and then everybody else came in to help with the rest. It's the citizens, it's the staff, it's the outside agencies, it's government agencies, both federal and state. Um, it's the nonprofits that come in to help us and distribute food. The Army National Guard, I worked side by side with them for many days, distributing food and water and MREs and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. Absolutely not. I do not do anything for that kind of credit. But I got to work with them and I got to hear their stories and I got to understand the needs of the citizens by being that up close and personal and seeing their faces, seeing their gratitude, seeing their frustration, seeing their helplessness. This is all stuff I got to witness firsthand, and you cannot take any of that away.
You know, I love doing this show for a lot of reasons. There's so much to learn about our community and surrounding areas, surrounding um, groups. You know, I care is I enjoy my interviews with care, and the one thing that and I bring this up because of something you just said. We have both now done the same thing out loud that we should never have to do, which is we're telling people what we've done. We're telling people this, and it's not boast. It's really to encourage people to really talk about what's going on, encourage them to get it out. Because the truth of the matter is if you don't talk to like-minded people, if you don't talk to people to encourage them to do more, to encourage them, maybe their more is just surviving. Maybe their more is I lost everything and I have nothing, and you just give them a hug and say, yes, you do. You've at least got a friend in me. I know there's a song in there, but it's the
You don't want me singing it.
not me either, but it's the fact that if there's any damn thing in this world that can draw people together and make them stop thinking the BS that we all do, and I'm not going to blame one side or the other. I'm just going to say we all draw this same conclusion on different topics. But if there's not one damn moment that will change, if this isn't it,
Nothing.
then you're not the person that you think you are. And so I want people to drop their guard for a little bit, stop pointing fingers, and not that people are really doing that, but there are select groups always that come back and do that. And Alicia put something out there that I agree with her on. That there's too many rumors that were out there on Facebook and different things. I'm going to go right back to something that this show is really about. That's the reason I called it Real Talk. And we don't really preemptively ever set our topics up. We never do that. And even when we do, I said, give me an update on the city. Well, I had that on Friday, so I kind of know what the update was. And yet we've spent now, 20 minutes probably talking about a personal side of things and where people are at. And I think people just need to calm down. And I said this over and over again. Please calm down. Please stay stable. Please just have this level attitude. There are a lot of resources. If you see somebody who's struggling, please pick them up. Please pick them up. I don't care what side of the fence you think they're on. I can tell a story right now. I've got a neighbor who wanted to call on everything I did, who after this said I'm the greatest guy. She's glad she met me. People can change. People's attitude can change. And truly, don't give up on your neighbors. Turn the corner. Yeah, I could have turned the corner and looked the other way and not paid attention. Don't. It's there. People are worthy of this, and we have to learn to trust our community again. Uh, when I was a kid, it was all about our community. It was all about our neighbors, and my mom would be the first one to jump on this show and say, "You kids you didn't have a chance because we had too many eyeballs on us." Okay, Well, I don't think we need eyeballs on us right now. I think we need eyeballs praising all of us. There are a lot of great people out in our community. They're good people doing great things. My question to you, and this is more on the political side of things, with just a twist, because it's not political, but with your perception of how everything went down now, as a leader, do you think you're going to assess things? Because I think I even am going to look at things a lot different, from roads to drainage to just all these scenarios that play out within the city that we truly count on. Even communication has been brought up, but I mean, we got wiped off the map with communication. And somebody said we need ham radio, and I'm like, nobody does that anymore. There's a select group for that. That's old school stuff. And, from your perspective, do you think just yourself and others are going to view this differently now?
I hope so. Um, Prior to Ian, the comments that you see on social media, the vitriol that you see in the news media, the hatefulness. I know that Florida is a little bit insulated at this point. Our news is still very much talking about what Ian and the recovery and all that kind of stuff, especially our local news. But national news, we're all fixed and we're all back to normal and everything is great.
Yeah,
And we all know that that's not true.
correct.
Because we're out of the headlines again. They broadcast the headlines for 3 to 5 days and then they move on to the next big story. Most of us living in Southwest Florida don't really know what the next big story is that they moved on to, because we are so busy rebuilding our lives, rebuilding our cities, rebuilding our communities.
That's
Um, yeah. Um, it's quite amazing. Um, but as far as the focus, yeah, the focus is, I think over the past year, our focus has been on trying to get the water control structures taken care of, Price Boulevard to be widened, the bridges needing to be put into a plan as to which ones get fixed first, if, which ones are fine. So we have been talking about that. But John, it all boils down to one damn word, and it's called greenbacks. Where are we gonna get the money? Nobody wants to pay more taxes. Nobody wants to pay to have this stuff fixed. Nobody wants to pay higher insurance because it'll cover things more adequately. Nobody wants to get a new roof on their house. But now it's like, so it's all about the money. And it's I'm saying all of this because it's not just your personal finances, but it gets applied to the city's finances. We don't have a tree out in the backyard that we can just go pluck this money off to fix things, just like you, average Joe citizen, don't have a money tree in your backyard to fix the things that need to be fixed. um, and so these are going to be larger conversations, I know, are coming down the pipe, because they were beginning last year and the year before and many years before. And it all boils down to, how are we going to pay for it? Price Boulevard is a perfect example. I don't know if you've touched on it. I don't even know if you want to touch on it. So
We have on this show multiple times, and I know we voted for Price, and things are.
no, we haven't.
Oh, I thought we did.
No, that's coming up in November's election.
Okay, so I there's no better time than to talk about November's election now.
All right.
It's truly on the ballot, right?
Yeah. So what's coming up on the ballot is twofold, and we're going to focus solely on Price Boulevard. Okay, nothing else. There's a lot of things on the ballot, but Price Boulevard is on the ballot. So we have been trying to widen Price Boulevard for decades. Okay. And yes, there's many people, oh, you should have done this and you could have done this. And why didn't you do this? And it's like, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Well, you can't go backwards.
I got nothing for you. But here's where we are right now. We
Yep.
have the design, we have the right of way, we have the stormwater ponds, we have all of that. Now we need to come up with $80 million to do the construction. All right. What tree are you going to pull $80 million off of? Please show me, because I'd really love to go visit it at night. All right, $80 million. So what we decided to do was to put it up for a voter referendum to say, yes, if surtax passes, which is also a voter referendum this year, if the county surtax referendum passes, then the city of Northport will use future surtax money to pay back the bonds to do Price Boulevard widening. If surtax fails, Price Boulevard's not going to get widened for probably decades again. All right. If surtax passes, but the voters do not pass the bond for Price Boulevard, then we do not get to widen Price Boulevard. It's kind of like it's joined at the hip, kind of like. Price Boulevard, if it does pass both the county referendum and the city of Northport's referendum to issue the bonds, then we can go out and start bidding process, and we can actually probably start construction spring, early summer of next year of 2023. If it doesn't pass, you're probably looking at least a decade while because we have to come up with the money first before we can go out to bid.
And if we wait a decade, how much is that going to cost us in a decade?
I don't know. That crystal ball's broke, John.
Well,
a whole hell of a lot of money.
A lot more than we're talking about today.
Exactly. A whole hell of a lot more money.
and you know, as much as we have talked about it, okay, the concern that I have, and I'm not by myself. I know that probably every person on council and within the city, if we can't get that road widened, the problems that we're going to face with that road, they're not done after those bridges are repaired. And I'm not, and let me say this, correct myself. The drainage runoffs, they're not true bridges. They're really not true bridges. They're water runoffs. And if we don't get these roads firmed up and completed the right way, now that we've seen what can happen, and this storm doesn't have to hit us like that to cause this problem. We could get a whopper from the other side of the state that goes up our rivers and runoffs and get that much water and more. And that's the real truth is water runs down. We don't send our water north. And whatever happens, and that's kind of where this all kind of stockpiled, is that storm sat over us and then continued to sit over
North
Florida.
Of us.
Yeah, for a long time. And that watershed that came down all the way through the state has to go south. And truthfully, there were moments post the event that were almost more panicky here than the event itself. And that's because of the watershed. And
right.
And the truth of the matter is I'm kind of going to go into this a little bit too, because you were on that island. You saw the road closed signs, I'm sure. And I kind of want, because I've been very outspoken.
Oh, I'd love to talk about road closed signs, John, because I got a firsthand story to share with you.
Go for it.
So we have Price Boulevard. I am at Cranberry and Price.
Yep.
McCoffney Waterway, which is between Cranberry and Salford, had road closed signs on it. The waterway between Cranberry and Chamberlain had road closed signs on it. So the day after the storm, it's like, okay, we can't drive anywhere, so we're going to walk. So we went for a walk and went to the McCoffney Waterway. And there was a small hole over Price Boulevard. I don't know how big is small, but it was a small hole. Okay, they had cones around it to keep people from going into what would be considered maybe a large pothole.
Right.
All right. It expanded as people drove over the bridge to the point where they closed the bridge and you had to get rerouted around. I went for a walk and saw people driving over Price Boulevard at the road closed. And I immediately was getting ready to call the city manager and say, why are these roads open? My God, underneath now that small pothole is now a full lane. And underneath the lane that has the hole, but the lane that has concrete and pavement over it is scooped out. So it's kind of like putting a piece of saran wrap over a 5-gallon bucket and then driving a truck over. How's that going to work for you? Whoever moved those signs, how dare you? You jeopardized so many citizens and their lives and their well-being, and caused even more damage to a road that may not have been as damaged as bad as if the road closed signs stayed where they were. On top of all of that, I-75 got shut down. And GPS was routing people from Toledo Blade to Cranberry to Price Boulevard. These people had no idea where to go because everything was so flooded. So one of our Northport officers and I were at either end of the bridge. I was helping direct people back to 41 through these flood waters and trying to help them navigate so they could get on at Jacaranda. And the other officer was at the other side of the bridge doing the exact same thing. All right. How many citizens thought that they were entitled to be able to travel over that bridge just because they felt that they were more damn important than the rest of the world? I was livid when a man came up to me and says, do you know who I am? And I said, no, sir, I frankly don't care. And he says, you will let me cross that bridge. I said, sure, I'll let you cross that bridge. And that officer on the other side is going to arrest you. People just have to stop thinking about themselves and look at the larger picture. We don't want to inconvenience people by having them go around. That's the last thing we want to do. I get inconvenienced, you get inconvenienced. It's for their safety. We're not just doing it to be a bunch of jerks. But the people that move those signs jeopardized our population and our visitors because 75 was closed.
And I'm going to go one step further. We had.
You can tell I was a little upset about that.
Oh no, you and I were equal, because I've been saying all of them have been anybody who drove on the road close signs. I wish that we had cameras. I wish we could go post them. I wish we could make a spectacle out of each and every one of them. I was at Hillsborough, and that's when Hillsborough was really being breached, and so I yelled. There was an 8,000-pound vehicle, okay, 8,000-pound vehicle, and he moved the road close sign behind Kia and was going to go up that road, and I said some words, and he yelled back at me, I'm 47 years old. You won't talk to me like that. So I got out of my truck and I walked over to his vehicle. I stuck my hand inside his vehicle, shook his hand, and I said, sorry, I didn't mean to talk to you like that. But if you're dumb enough to drive over that road and risk everybody's life downstream, that's on you. You've been told now that if that road breaches because you're driving over it, perspective is everything. Cocoa Plum is 45 feet across, roughly 30 feet deep. The first outlet for water, if that breaches right there at Hillsborough, is a 4-foot wide canal. That's a runoff, a control factor.
Mm-hmm.
That road, while 75 was shut down, just happens to be connected to that road drainage, happens to be connected and goes underneath 41. take 45 feet of water, 30 feet deep, send it down a 4-foot canal, and take out US 41.
And then what do we have? Nothing.
And exactly. So you know, I'm very outspoken on the show. So assholes need to leave that where it's at. And if you were one that day, just correct yourself. Correct yourself, because the truth of the matter is, if you're that selfish and that pitiful of a person to put the rest of our citizens and surrounding county citizens, because that road runoff would have compromised everyone downstream in Charlotte County. If you think about 80 miles of canals, they're controlled for a purpose.
Yep.
If we lose control, we know what that is, because we had erosion outside of our levees. Okay. They really didn't break. They just got compromised from the pressure. And the truth of the matter is, we didn't like that loss of control either, because other places flooded. When Price Boulevard collapsed behind Walmart, what happened downstream? Well, more water got released at a much quicker pace. And guess what flooded more? That would be McKibben.
Yep.
And when that's the problem that I have with people being selfish and self-centered enough to think they're more important than the rest. And those citizens that were on those bridges, not just with you, but truthfully, my brother-in-law and I, we were yelling at people on both sides of the bridges. My sister-in-law lives on the other side of that island bridge. Okay. Here's the other factor that most people can't get a grasp on. The looky-loos that were driving their cars. Well, I wanted to go see how bad it was. Okay. I said, think about it this way. How many first responders can go over and help you if this road is gone? They can't get into you. If there's a fire, if there's somebody dying over there, no first responder can get through if you keep driving over this road and you take it out. That road closed sign means something more than I'm trapped. It means that if you don't adhere, there is no help. Because that, I don't know what would have happened on that road if there were true life and death fire situations, because if there was a fire that spread, I don't know that we had enough vehicles to get over that bridge without compromising it to death, because we're talking about vehicles that are heavier than 8,000 pounds. I just, that is my frustration with this whole thing. And I hope that when we get done collectively, leadership really sits down, because while you were there, I picked up the phone and I called Mayor Pete and I said, Pete, we've got people moving these signs, and it's crazy to watch the amount of traffic and the audacity of the excuse. Well, I'm moving the guy that I stopped. I said, where are you going that you have to move a road close sign? And he goes, well, I got to go tow a car. And I said, this is all about a towing of a car? And he goes, yes. And this is the way the map is showing me. And I said, divert the map. I said this the other day on the show, and it's kind of an eye-opening experience, I guess, for the people on the bus in the movie. But the movie Speed, and they diverted them to a road close sign. When they said the road's finished, don't worry about it. Well, the bridge was out. They didn't finish the bridge. So a bus has to jump a gap in the road. Think about that. If the bridges all get wiped out, then we're jumping what road with an ambulance or a fire truck? What's left? And citizens that stood up and started yelling at people for driving on the road, thank you. Honestly, thank you, because That's where citizens have to band together. I would have loved to see a chain of citizens blocking the road at that point. Because if people can't act like normal, respectable adults and respect the sign, seriously.
Just because the road looked like it was safe, there's a reason there's a road closed sign there. You don't see what's underneath. I took a picture of underneath the road there at McCoffney, and a citizen didn't believe me. And I said, "You want to drive over this?" I said, "You'll fall to your death." I said, "Do you want to be that car that falls in?" I said, "Just turn around. It's not worth it."
No.
And then one other citizen says, "Well, my GPS says I have to go this way." And I looked at him, I said, "Your GPS doesn't know the bridge is out. Turn
Right.
around and go back the way you came, and then go down to Toledo Blade and go to 41 and then go north."
So I take it that when this whole thing gets reassessed, and it will, because
Mm-hmm. Oh,
the
absolutely.
only reason we have great responses is because we analyze our response from the last time. And I don't have to worry about this one because there are so many of you that sit on council, and the drivers of the dump trucks. Kudos for you. I watched both of them park their vehicles
Yeah.
across the road.
They were still going around them.
They went around them. They did. And
It's
and
like, oh my God.
and truthfully, the self-control that those guys had, I went up and talked to one of them, and I said, how is it that I'm losing my mind and you're not losing control over this? And he threw his hands in there and he goes, I don't understand why people think it's okay. We have blocked both roads effectively, and because you have a vehicle and you think it's a good idea to run on the edges of the road that are decaying as they were driving, okay? It to me, the definition is stupid. They each one of those drivers, and you can give them my phone number, and I'll call them stupid to their face because I did that day. But they're just I that's my biggest pet peeve, and obviously it's yours too. That the behavior of certain citizens, and we're not talking about everybody because there were so many people
Yeah, let's end this on a positive,
did
because
the
I
right
know we're running out of time, but
we are. We are, but
there are so many positives that have come out of this. When I was standing out there and helping reroute people so that they could get around the city of Northport to go back to Sarasota or to Tampa or wherever they were heading north when 75 was closed, there were a lot of citizens that were helping.
they
There were
were.
a lot of citizens holding up signs saying, "Turn around, roads closed." There were a lot of citizens helping pass out food. There were a lot of citizens that were just, the mental health and everybody's emotions are so thin and frazzled right now. Just giving encouragement at the grocery store, just giving encouragement at the restaurant. Um, it helps in ways that you will never ever know the impact of just being kind. And it sounds so cliche and it sounds so fluffy, but if you just try to be kind and make your actions and words match, it makes these kind of disasters a little bit more bearable. Um, the people I saw when they were in line at San Pedro's, the distraught and gratitude of receiving a box of MREs and a case of water, you could see how grateful they were. You had a couple of people, of course, oh, I can't believe the line is so long. And it's like, I can't change you and your perception, but you will move on and the next person will come through. um, our staff did a great job our nonprofits are continuing to do a good job, a great
Amazing.
job. It
Amazing.
is absolutely amazing how they have stepped up and collected things. Things that we have done to help our staff that have been overcome with all of the things that they have to do. Um, we love our staff, but we also make them show up when we have a disaster, and we understand your house may not be in good shape and you have things you need to do, but guess what? You signed an agreement that you would be first and do this first as to best of your ability. Of course, if you're stuck on an island,
Right.
you know.
And you're out.
Our city has, I've always said it, we have amazing citizens, we have amazing people, and they are the focus of how they have helped each other in ways we will never be able to understand, in ways we can never comprehend. The little things that they do to help a stranger or a friend or their family, that's what this is all about.
I want to stay with you just a couple more minutes, but I want to jump off the air. I don't want to keep you too long, but
No,
this,
you're fine. You can keep me as long as you need.
yeah, this is John Rawlings with WKDW Radio 97.5 FM. Please join me on Friday. Please share this information. Also, please encourage more people to watch on Friday. I have Justin Box coming to talk about insurance, what's happening. Please do not let anybody scare tactic you into any BS move. We're going to talk about insurance. We're going to answer questions. Uh, we're going to talk about future. We're going to talk about why you should have this. If you didn't flood this time and you didn't have to use flood insurance, you might want to rethink that pattern. And people that didn't have proper flood insurance now are definitely going to be rethinking it. So join us on Friday. And I look forward to seeing each one of you then. This is John Rawlings from WKDW Radio 97.5 saying thanks for listening in, and we'll see you on Friday. Debbie McDowell. So
Hi, guys.
I want to like throw this at you with all the stuff that happened, the negative side of things. I'm gonna throw out my favorite line to you because what I found is it's very effective, and it separates the good and the bad and the ugly. Is that when something goes wrong in a store, versus yelling or saying I don't like this and you shouldn't treat me like this, my line now is very simple and straight to the point. If this is the worst thing that's going to happen to me today, I'm good. And I smile.
Exactly.
And the truth of the matter is, if the person on the other side might snip or snap at you, imagine being a cashier at your job the day after because Publix wants it open so people can settle down. And that person who's at the cash register is distraught because their home is destroyed.
And they have people sniping at them
Yes.
8, 10 hours straight. Snipe, snipe, snipe. It's not the cashier's fault. It's not the stocker's fault that there's no water. And it's very frustrating.
There's a little statement by William English. You want to read that?
Very enlightening interview. Thank you, Commissioner McDowell and John. He cannot imagine the caring that I have witnessed within our community, and stay blessed. And you know what, William? You're absolutely right. We could sit here and talk for hours about the caring that has been happening in our city on so many different levels. Strangers giving another stranger a hug just because she saw that the person was crying. I saw that. The things that I have witnessed over these past 3 weeks are going to stay and have impacted me in ways that I still am trying to process. I am still trying to process.
And I'm glad we're going on a positive note with the conversation. I'm glad we addressed the negative, though. I don't
Yeah.
think we ever. And I got to tell you, I've watched this recovery, and I've watched people's action, and I would give us an A plus, even though during the recovery side of things post event, some of our citizens got an F. And those of you who didn't follow the law and didn't follow the signs, you're our F factor. Okay, you're a complete failure. But our number of citizens that gave us A pluses, we outweigh you by leaps and bounds. And I commend each and every citizen who is, whether it's making a glass of lemonade or making some cookies or saying hello to each other. Holy crap. I never in a million years thought that I would be thanking people for just being nice to each other. And there is some value in that.
It shows where we had become as a society, that we have to speak about this shift that we have seen these past 3 months. It reminds me of 9/11, John. Remember after 9/11 in 2001,
Yep.
there was a shift, and then when that shift started to fall back by the wayside, we became what we hated. we the majority of us wanted to just get along and do what we each collectively needed to do, and then it became this vitriol and hatred and negative and negative, and then this happened, and I see this shift again, and I really hope this shift lasts a long time. I really do. We have to um, take the concerns and complaints so that way we can do better. But you can be concerned and you can have complaints without being hateful. Asking a question is not being you're not complaining when you're asking a question. You can say, hey, can you tell me where the water is, versus, where's the water, I need my water, I need water now. There's a difference in how you say things. So yeah,
And,
and he's absolutely right. 92 was much worse.
yes.
92, and we had less people here. Look at how bad 92 was, and we even had less people.
And let me tell you, though, I wasn't here in 92, but I wanted, I want to go back to 92 to what we have today. We have a public works department who has manicured our runoffs. They have, and I said this the other day, if you were at the lifts or the levees and you saw them, the amount of debris that could have been there if we didn't have that department working hand in glove with each other to make sure everything that they could do in a normal storm
Yep.
made water flow. The next time that there's a piece of equipment that needs to be purchased, and it's an amphibious vehicle that does a lot of good. I remember doing that show. I remember saying, I don't understand what they're bitching about. Why
Are you
complain?
talking about the Bearcat?
Oh, I are.
Just want to make sure.
Because
For that.
it's to me, when you analyze our town, we have to be analyzed differently than other towns, because there isn't another town that has 80 miles of canals. No
That's
one
what
has
I tried
to
to.
do with it.
I tried to explain that exact same thing when a citizen was comparing us to Sanibel, and they were saying, well, Sanibel got their bridge already, and how come our Price Boulevard is still down? And I said, we're different than Sanibel. Sanibel has no way in and no way out. At least we can go around. It's not fun, and it's mind-boggling how long it took me to go 5 miles to get around when I was able to get out of my little island. Um, but I wasn't stuck for weeks.
Do you think that, and I'm hoping this, because I've been at this for 4 years on the radio, and I remember how we all started on the show, and where we've gone on the show, and we've tried to educate people, really, instead of this rumor mill. This has really just been, like the show says, it's real talk. It's real. It's real. You don't have to go anywhere to get an answer. And I've had lunch with, and I know you have. I know other commissioners do this same thing. I've had lunch and breakfast and coffee and tea with people like Chuck English and other citizens that they pull me aside, and I know you get the same thing, that they're like, I what do you think? What do you think we should do? How can we handle this? And sometimes you get pushback from these groups, but what I'm hoping comes out of this, and it's something we already have at the radio station, and we do our live shows in the common grounds, and I'm just hoping that somewhere we can stop the bickering and the arguments and the name calling and the social media attacks, and look at people for who they are. Okay. And really maybe come to some common ground and accomplish things at our level. We do not have to be at the federal level. We are local. We can get local things done. We may not always see eye to eye on how they should get done. But do you feel like people are going to, with what you just said, do you feel like groups are now going to maybe step back a little bit and maybe take a different stance on their approach?
You can always hope. You
Because
can always hope.
I don't know one city commissioner right now that wants ill will for the city.
No, absolutely not. But see, John, the thing is I've always said we can agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. I disagree with me all day long. Bring me why you disagree with me. Help me understand your perspective. We have to talk. We have to have dialogue. And a lot of the times things can't be done in 140 characters or less. You can't have dialogue like that. You cannot, oh, she voted this way. Well, I also voted this way and that way and that way and this way that you agreed with. So 1 out of 20, I guess I'm not too bad. Or somebody else, not just me, but anybody. We're not going to agree 100% of the time. I've been married to my wonderful husband for 33 years this month. 33 years this man has put up with me. He's a saint. He is an absolute saint. But we don't agree on everything that I vote on. And there are times where I've come in the house and he goes, I can't believe I voted for that. Well, I was up on the dais and you weren't. And that's what I voted for. And then I explain why I voted a certain way or why I didn't vote a certain way. And that's the only way you're going to understand the different perspectives is by talking to each other. What a concept.
I think Bill, or I want to say Bill all the time, but it's Chuck.
Yeah.
The first thing is put aside any political bias and personal animosity, and really, I have met, and I know that you have too, a lot of citizens who a lot of things they take personal, and they're like your voting or conversations that we may have or disagreements through a conversation that they don't see eye to eye. And the one thing that I think I would say to people is that just because we don't see exactly the same thing, or it's because it's not personal. It's everybody has a vision for where they want their town to go and what they want the town to be. And it's not always in lockstep with every single person. We're 70,000 strong. If everybody was excited about each vote that went down, we'd have 70,000 people clapping up and down. We can't get 18% of our people to vote.
I sure hope people come out in November and vote. My gosh, I know, John, you bring up something that I am very concerned about, and that is this November election. Vote by mail is going out. I think this week, next week's coming up. People are busy with their lives. People are displaced. People are navigating the stuff of FEMA and their insurance. People's last thing on their mind really is voting. And these local things, these local referendums that we're voting on will impact us for years. And I'm not just talking about the surtax. There's a lot of things on the state referendums, the county referendums, the local referendums. We're voting for a District 5 representative because Commissioner Luke is terming out. These are real and impactful. And if you don't think, and I know you don't think this, but anybody who's watching, if you don't think this is going to affect you at some point, you are sadly mistaken.
Well, and I'm going to stay there for a second because this is kind of a critical thing for more people to share this. If you're listening right now, please, please, please share this. Part of the problem with Facebook and doing this show on Facebook, and I will say this because I have applied differently within the Facebook realm of things, but I can't push any numbers on Facebook because it's commissioner speaking. If you share this video, it does get traction because this is politically based and it's incentivizing just people to get educated about what's happening in their city. And this was a different twist on things because normally we are talking about decisions that are made and different things that are happening within our town and giving a town update from commissioners on this particular show once a month. But, I think that people need to understand that the local things that are happening on our voting block now, this is more direct to us as citizens than on the national level. And people come out to vote for national and they have it backwards.
Yep.
They should vote local more than they vote national. Because that bullshit, it's going to happen down the road. And at the end of the day, it's okay. But if we don't get the local right, it does dramatically affect what we're doing, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I can't, social media, I only have a social media account through Facebook, so I'm not sure how it works with all the other social media outlets. I used to be able to share my commissioner stuff. I used to be able to boost my commissioner stuff. And up until about, I think it was like 3 years ago, that all stopped. Anything political, I cannot share anything that's under Commissioner Debbie Mcdowell. And I try to educate. I try to inform. I try very, very hard, and I think I would give myself a 95% of keeping my personal thoughts out of it, and just share why I voted away, why I didn't vote for something, what's going on, what's happening. All this stuff I'm sharing on my commissioner page about FEMA, about resources that are available, I can't share anywhere else. And this is real time information that my citizens need. And granted, many of them can't get on Facebook because they don't have internet still, right. But their family or friends can share it and tell them about, hey, did you know? And share it that way, like the old fashioned way of, hey, did you know about this? And have a conversation about it. And that's very unfortunate. I don't have the wherewithal or the resources to fight Facebook. And I have no intention of doing that. But there's a lot of things that are coming up that just because I have Commissioner Debbie McDowell attached to it, citizens aren't going to see unless they go directly to my commissioner page.
So with the referendums that are coming up, it's always a yes or a no, and sometimes it gets squirrely. Is there any special wording in these, or is it pretty direct? If we want this road, yes. If we want the bond, yes. Is that how this is going to go?
I have to walk a tightrope here, John. I can educate, I can inform, I cannot advocate. I firmly believe our citizens are very smart people. And I really believe that those that are listening can share the education that I can offer, that you can offer. Each one of us has a different perspective on these referendums. Price Boulevard referendum. If you want Price Boulevard widened quicker, you gotta vote yes. If you don't think Price Boulevard needs to be widened, then you vote no. That's the bottom line. It really is that simple about Price Boulevard. The referendum for surtax. If you want to continue this 1 cent sales tax, that the money only goes for infrastructure, it does not go for operations, it does not go for salaries, it does not go for that. It goes for infrastructure projects, and they're listed. And there's a committee that oversees it to make sure we're spending this surtax money correctly. Then you say, yes, I want to continue the surtax money, which, by the way, 20% of it, maybe even 25%, comes from visitors. Visitors are paying this when they buy stuff at the grocery store or at Walmart or go out to dinner or hotels or anything. Sales tax. Anybody who pays sales tax in Sarasota County is contributing. So if you want to continue it, it's yes. If you say, no, I don't want the infrastructure to be improved, then you vote no. There's another one that is the city manager. So there's a third referendum, well, a second one for the city of Northport. Currently, the commission has to approve all contracts, all agreements, all interlocals. They have to approve it. It comes before us, whether it's on consent or if it's a discussion item, comes before us and we say, yes, you can go ahead and sign this document, or no, or we make changes, okay? It's important that it comes to the commission because then the citizens know about it. The referendum is to say, no, it's not going to go to commission anymore. The city manager can sign it without commission or citizen input. There's a second part that says the commission may put limitations on what the city manager can sign. So it's a two-parter. So do you want the city manager to sign it? Yes or no? Do you want the commission oversight? Yes or no? But it's a one question thing. And the other part is that the commission may put limitations on it. So that one you have to look at a little bit carefully. I am going to be putting a little bit more information out on my commissioner page, hopefully by the end of the week on that one. I think everybody kind of knows where I stand on that, and I know how I'm voting on that. I am all about checks and balances. So citizens can hear what I'm saying, read the ballot language. You can also get a copy of the ordinance and read the actual ordinance. But that's the two Northport referendums besides voting for District 5 between Phil Stokes and Victor Dobrin.
And for citizens that are out there right now, that I have had Phil on and Victor on my show. They're very insightful shows. If you go back and you listen, I am truly working on doing, and I've got to talk to Phil. Victor's already said yes. I want to have a live debate on the show with both of them. And I truly am going to try to pull that off by the end of the month, I'm hoping, or the first week in November. I've got to get with both of them. I've never done a debate before, but everybody wants to know how I'm going to run it, and I'm going to be very clear on this. It's going to be live on the air, live on the show, and I have a mute button. So there will be a set amount of time for people to respond. If I do it in open forum, there's no control over talking. There is a control factor on this show, which is the mute button. So I'm throwing that out right now. It's a public show. It's going to be a public event. I want people to watch. I will definitely get some information out and hopefully get it to the groups out there that can share it better with people and get the word out on the street. Because again, to advertise a debate on Facebook to get people to watch, it's hard for me to do because they block every form of advertising I could possibly do, and it is going to be informative. I'm confused by politics because the word politics, as soon as you put it out there, it becomes
it's an omen.
unless they want it through. But when we're finding more out about the true Facebook side of things on where they are allowed to go and where we're not. But please keep your eye out. I will post it on Realtalk Facebook. I'll post it on my Facebook page. I'll post it on the WKDW Facebook page. I definitely am interested in doing that on both of them. I will talk to Phil probably when I get off the show today, because this is the second time I've announced it on Facebook, but I'm positive Phil's going to say yes, just because they're both very interested in getting their voices heard. And I think people, because of all of our scenarios that have played out now, I think that everyone needs to be encouraged to listen to them before they vote. And if you are early voting and you need to listen to their voices, go back and listen to my shows. That's all you need to do. And it is very clear where they stand on things and how they're going to present. And truthfully, not telling you which way to vote. What I am telling you to do, though, is to go back and see if you're lined up with the person that you're voting for. And I think that's the most important thing. Don't badmouth. Don't degrade. Just make sure your ideals are lined up with the person you're voting for. And that's the educational side of what we've been lacking on my push for everyone should vote. Now I'm all about go vote, but educate yourself before you pull the lever or fill in your blank spot. It's very, very important, and it's critical on the local side. Go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you that the election is actually 3 weeks tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We lost 3 weeks.
I know. That's kind of
Did you just choke because I said that?
Kind of.
It's 3 weeks tomorrow. So we lost a lot of valuable time for these kind of debates and these kind of interactions with our candidates, and to educate the citizens. 3 weeks tomorrow. And like I said before, vote by mail is going out. I believe it's already out this week. Maybe they went out last week. So
I think
vote
they
by
went out
mail is
last week.
so
I
of the essence on that one.
I know, and I've got to step on the gas pedal because in saying that, yes, I did kind of choke because realizing that
3 weeks.
it has been 95 miles an hour, and I haven't been on 75. I've been in the city. My brain, my life, everything, along with everybody else is out there. Not taking credit for anything, but I think we've all kind of lost track of time. But I think the reality is we have responsibility in getting out to vote and doing the right thing on the local level. Go Buckeyes.
I brought it just for you, John.
I love it. We had a bye week last week, and I did get to relax over the weekend, but it's funny. We had a bye week. I didn't do the game. 2 weeks ago, I did the game. we missed our first one because of the hurricane, of course.
Yep.
But I will say this on a personal note that I was exhausted the day that we held the game at Twisted Fork. But the attitude of the crowd, the attitude of the people at Twisted Fork, and everyone who was there not for the game but to be normal. That
People are
there's
people are striving for normal,
they are.
and one of the biggest signs that normal is returning is the kids are back in school.
Yep.
And I know Cranberry Elementary is the last one in Northport, and they're starting tomorrow, but that's a sure sign of normal. And yes, I understand it's a pain in the hiney to have to go around and deal with the traffic and everything else with getting your kids to school. Be safe out there and just look at it. It's all mindset. It's an inconvenience. I come from Chicago, and when people say Northport's traffic is really, really sucky, I sit there and go, "You ain't seen traffic, people. This is nothing."
Well, Columbus, Ohio has been the detour capital of the world for I don't know how long. And every time I go back, I'm like, you haven't completed this road yet. And it's been 23 years.
No, they actually completed it and then started it again.
Yeah, it's been a while. But, I, I know we started this on a negative note, kind of, and then went into positive. But, I don't know if the same people who moved the road signs before are moving them today, and that should tell you something. If you were one of those people that moved the road signs before, why don't you go ahead, those same people, and move the road sign now at the canal crossing behind Walmart? Just go ahead, because that's really the reality of this whole thing is that all of those roads that were damaged, yes, while damaged because of water, uh, they were damaged more because of those citizens who didn't listen.
Who were inconsiderate.
And they were, and I'm going to leave us on that note because it still is a positive. They're not moving the signs today, so maybe
No, they can't.
they can't. I know, and
They
and
can't.
yeah, it's a whole different ball game now.
It's totally different. But in reality, when they put those signs up, people were kind of stuck on their own little islands, and they weren't secured like they are now. And I cannot fathom that level of inconsiderateness.
Well, and you talk about a road sign that's stable and is permanent. Well, I can't think of a better road sign than the dump truck that's blocking both lanes. So
hello.
Yeah, it's like when I saw it happening, and then I saw the overview picture of the road, the reality of what people were thinking and where their minds went, the complete breakdown and it truly is complete breakdown of real civilization.
Absolutely.
Where you are that person who thinks you're that much more important than every citizen that you were affecting. And
right.
Really, the damage that gets caused in that scenario, I would just like to know what the difference would have been with the damage to the road if no one did that extra driving on those roads during that time frame, because it's the same citizens that are driving around right now that are mad that there's detours and we haven't fixed them yet. That's the craziness of it all.
Yep.
So a couple things we learned: if a road is closed, don't drive on it.
Exactly.
That's
and
brilliant.
Don't move the signs.
And don't move the signs. That's brilliant. And I think the last brilliant part of this whole thing is read what you're going to vote on, go vote, and don't forget to vote, because there's we really cannot go another decade not doing anything on Price Boulevard. And now it's on the citizens of Northport, not the commissioners,
Exactly.
to make that determination. So, Debbie, I appreciate your time. Is there any last
Anytime, John.
say?
John, I want to throw it out there and say thank you for everything that you have done to help educate the citizens about the resources available, the different things happening in our city to help our citizens. I am very grateful for that. And I know it's not going to end, and I know I'm not going to stop either. But there are resources available on my commissioner page, on your page, on the city's website. And I know I've said it before, if you can't get on the internet to see this stuff, please ask your friends. There's internet available at McDonald's, the library, a friend's house, somebody you don't like's house.
Yep.
You know,
Make a new friend.
there's ways, and I know it's not convenient and it may not be conducive for working, but at least to get connected, there are ways around it. Just be kind, help each other out. You know, that's all it, that's how we're going to get through this. And this isn't going to end anytime soon.
Yep. And I'm going to throw this, and I appreciate the sentiments, but uh, Chamber of Commerce is a good
Yep.
place, a good tool for people to start to find good, reliable people if you're in the need of help. Don't trust everybody who's knocking at your door. Make sure they're licensed and bonded. Make sure that you get receipts. If you need resources, they're a great resource. I know that RJ has been filling out applications for FEMA. If you have citizens in your neighborhood who have not done that yet, please have them go there or to STC or down to the Charlotte Mall. There's a tremendous amount of help. And I received a phone call today at 11:30 from Carrie, my wife, who said, it's amazing if people would come here now, there's no line. Don't pay attention to the line outside. If there's 20 people in line outside, they take 6 people back at a time. Do the math. It's 3 cycles and you're in. Okay. And if you don't wait, you're not getting direct help and direct information. There's so much critical information about what you can get and how people can help you. It's insane the amount of time and energy that really pre-event. There's no way that this kind of stuff would have been here this quickly without everyone working together to get this done. This didn't happen because the storm happened. It happened because we were prepared for this because of the last storm we had.
Yeah. The other thing is, you know, just because you read that, oh, my friend didn't get, her claim was denied, or FEMA denied this person, or this happened, or that happened. Every single person, every single circumstance is different.
Yep.
My policy for my home is different than yours, John. I guarantee it. Just like mine is different than everybody else's that's listening. And my needs for FEMA are totally different than yours and everybody else that's listening. You cannot take, well, FEMA denied this or FEMA denied that, and my insurance didn't allow the pool, or my insurance didn't allow the pool cage or tree removal. Every single policy is different. And you have got to look at it as it is unique, as the property owner is unique. Each property is unique. You have got to stop taking what you're hearing on Facebook or other social media sites as applying it with the broad brush to yourself. Do your own research, fill out the paperwork, talk to the people yourself. Go down to talk to FEMA, talk to your insurance company yourself, because, and read your policy. There's a consumer bill of rights in your policy that says your insurance company must, I love the words must and shall and will. There's no gray area with that. They must respond in X amount of days or they can get into trouble. And the more people that understand what your rights are, the more the insurance company is going to step up for you.
and I'm going to say this because of the amount. I didn't have damage. I had people here. I'm assisting people throughout this whole process, and I will say, as much as I've been involved in selling houses and getting people set up, I've learned a tremendous amount more because of this. And my whole presentation when I'm going to sell a home to someone is definitely going to change because
Absolutely.
of what I've learned. And this isn't because we are not taught. Uh, the fact is there's a lot of real estate agents and insurance people and citizens, and I have to spread the word on everyone. Your whole perspective on how you're covered and what's covered and why and when and how. There's different policies for different things, and because you have contents on one and you don't have it on the other doesn't mean that you have contents on everything. Wind is one policy and flood is another. And if they're not equal and you don't have contents on flood, you don't have contents if you got flooded. And so perspective is this Friday. Please share, please listen in, please ask questions. I love, and I'm going to say this because now we've been on the air, another what? I lost my clock.
Almost an extra half hour, and that's fine. I can.
Extra half hour, but
It's fine with me.
I didn't put my contacts in. I didn't have my glasses on, so I'm squinting to look everywhere. But the fact that we have gone through this now, I want citizens to think positively about what's happening. It's hard in some cases, but if we don't do what the city does and what the state does and what the nation does with crises like this and analyze where we were so it doesn't happen to us again, I decisions have to be made differently. People have to learn from this. And truthfully, I, I'm going to try my damnedest to get information out. I know that you guys at City Hall, the city of Northport has been doing a fantastic job getting information out, trying to keep people informed. I know that there's going to be more that happens now. The next Newcomers Day is probably going to be a completely different look and completely different feel because of everything that went down. I have a feeling people are going to be seeking different style information from Newcomers Day where they can come into our town and say, holy cow, what did y'all learn from this? What do I need to do to protect myself? I'm actually getting text messages like that now. Is what's going to happen? If I knew what was going to happen in the insurance industry, holy cow, I'd be rich because I'd be playing that card. But there are going to be changes across the board with just about every decision that's made because all I have to do is look back to building codes. Even at Charlie, we had building codes at Charlie that changed. Ian is going to just change people's perspective, not just on building codes, but coverage. People are going to look at things totally different. And each and every citizen out here, you are 110% correct. Different insurance agencies will do different things for you to get you the payment that you're looking for.
Pay now, pay later.
Well, to get you into a home, and I knock on wood, I've never made an adjustment on insurance to find anybody a house. That's not a sacrifice that I'm willing to sleep on at night.
Nope.
I would highly, 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 highly encourage anyone who is using that perspective, change your perspective. If this doesn't, there won't be too much that will. Come listen next Friday. I promise you're going to learn more.
This coming Friday?
This coming Friday.
So
Coming
let's
Friday at 3:05, same bat channel, same bat station. We're going to talk about insurances. We're going to break things down. I'm going to ask questions that
so
I
Friday
asked
the
before.
21st.
Friday the 21st.
There you go.
And honestly, it's going to be an educational. It's not going to be an infomercial. Justin is truly a great resource and somebody who is going to present this from a really a consumer's factor. I'm going to ask questions that people don't normally ask when they're getting a policy. I don't think the majority of people actually spend time. It's sort of like going to the dentist. People don't want to go to the dentist either. Okay, they really don't want to sit down with their insurance man or and find out how they can spend more money. Heaven forbid, I don't want to spend any more money, and he's going to trap me. He's going to talk me into spending more money. I got to tell you, I think if you went up and down the coast right now and you talk to people who are part of this event and people who are near this event, they're analyzing themselves differently today. I'm good on coverage. I'm doing the same thing. I was fine on coverage. I'm questioning my decision. I don't want to be good anymore. I want to be great at coverage. And I would highly suggest people listen. Tell everybody to listen in. It's not going to hurt you. There's no sales guy that's going to jump through the screen or jump on the air and talk into anything. But it is a great place for you to get educated, listen, learn, and make a good quality decision for you and your
What policy you have now is not going to change after your show on Friday because it's in place, it's in effect.
and you can change it.
You can change it when it comes up for renewal. Most places won't let you change it just because, and you got to wait for renewal. My heart aches for the people that are renting and their property owner is not trying to fix their house or doing anything though. That I would love to have a conversation, and we got to figure out this transitional housing while people are getting their houses fixed. The mold, in case people are unaware, the mold down here is deadly after a storm like this. Please take precautions.
And I will say this: anything that you can do, there are different services out there, ServPro, different organizations that are professionals at this. Get them into your house, get them in there quickly. There are different things that you can do inside your home, even if you have mold today. If you're gone 8 hours or 6 hours or 3 hours or a half hour, there's an ozone machine that you can purchase even through Amazon and an ozone machine. Please read about it. It is very effective on mold and different things like that within your home. And it does decrease. It can't go in the walls, but it can do surface related mold. There are different treatments out there. Vinegar, read about the bleach mixtures that you can spray that help minimize the damage. The focus right now is really minimizing damage so that they don't have to strip the whole house of drywall. You want to get help in there, get it in there quickly. If you're uninsured, holy crap, I feel bad, but you're the people now that really have to pay attention to the other remedies that are out there, because if you decide to stay in that home, you better make sure it's a safe environment for you. And
My husband's a painter by trade, and he has a couple extra respirators. I gave them to some friends who are stuck trying to clean out their house, and I said, you got to wear this. I don't want anything to happen to you. Put on a respirator. If you can't afford a respirator, at least put on a mask. You're breathing in all that crap. I mean, people were afraid of COVID. This is mold. This is stuff you can see.
Yeah.
Please protect yourself.
Absolutely. Well, Debbie, I appreciate your time. I know
I always appreciate it, John.
We've about 49 minutes longer. We're almost 2 shows in one.
That's all right. I enjoyed it. Anytime, you just give me a holler if you need anything.
Well, I
Thank you
appreciate
for all you do.
Yeah, thank you. And thank
Take
you for all
care.
you do. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye now.